Hey, what's up everybody? This is Joshua Casper. I'm back at you with Loop Masters. And I just came across this pack called the Mekanism by SampleState. It's underground house and tech. And I haven't been producing house or tech in a while, so I was like, you know what, let me take a stab at creating something. And it turned out to be really easy and actually came out quite good.
Right here is go back, back, right here, go back, back, right here is go back, right here.
So what I want to do is just go ahead and share with you the project I made, and as a bonus, if you purchase the pack, links in the video description, you'll be able to download this project file and it'll be all set up and ready for you to go. I did make this out of Ableton Live using only live devices, so that's something to keep in mind as well.
Go back, back, right here is go back, back, right here is go back, right here is go back.
All right, so that's the track that I put together using only samples taken from the Mekanism. There is one sample outside of that pack, but I'm going to go ahead and include that in the pack, so now it's inside of the pack. It's just this white noise right here, just to kind of fill out the drop. So it's nothing too crazy, but you're going to get that bonus inside of the sample pack if you go ahead and get it off of Loop Masters right now. Again, links in the video description. So what I'm going to do in this video is essentially walk through how I made this track and talk about some of the techniques I use to get certain effects. So first up is I just have a ghost sidechain. Now this is useful for a number of different reasons, but essentially sidechain is meant to duck or push the bass out of the way to let the kick breathe. And the reason why some people use a ghost sidechain is if you want the sidechain effect to happen even when your drum loop isn't happening. So here's the drum loop, and I first had the sidechain routing linked up to this. So right here is the bass line, and I've got an effect rack, and I've got a 2-band system loaded up here. And again, if you have Ableton Live, download the pack, you'll get all of this stuff, and I suggest saving this to your preset library. But the sidechain is to the ghost when it was towards the drum loop in the beginning. And the reason why I went to ghost is because I wanted that sidechain effect to continue for the drop when there wasn't any of that drum loop anymore. So that's one reason why people use ghost sidechaining. This isn't a tutorial about ghost sidechaining, I just wanted to point that out. That's why that's there. In terms of the drum track, I've just got one of the drum loops straight out of the pack. And for the breakdown, go ahead and solo this. I just added a lot of reverb and a lot of delay, both from Ableton Live devices, Ableton Live, the new Echo machine, and the reverb, and just kind of really flooded it on this one kick to make it kind of give sort of an explosion. And then for these kicks, I didn't do too much of the delay. If I go ahead and press A here, you'll see how much automation. There's a little bit of delay just in the beginning impact, but what I really focused on was the reverb. As you can see, it's 100% to the return track with reverb on it, just to give it more of an explosion and help the build up. All right. Next up is to help the build up. I just took one of the snares from the loop. If I right click and show in browser, you'll see that some of these drum loops are full and then they have the same loop with no kick and then tops complete. So you can see that that's very useful. And in fact, I used this top one, or the no kick one rather, to just take the snare and just all I did was came in and I looped that snare part by itself and let it build up, and then I made the loop smaller and smaller, and I just added a bunch of automation to an auto filter here. If I come in, you'll see the frequency and the filter type. So this is what it sounds like by itself. And that's just helping the intensity build with the buildup of the vocal chop and those kicks. And what I did there was just flip the filter type. If we come in and look at the filter, I went from the low pass to the high pass. So if you check this out, you know, just doing things like this with the automation, making them curvy and changing it up just adds more interest to the track. Next up, we got the Bassline. This is straight out of the pack. I didn't do too much to it besides this dual band sidechain routing inside of Ableton Live, but you could have easily just went with a standard sidechain as well. I just like to let some of the higher frequency content pass by the compressor and not get sidechain just so it sticks out more. But for the most part, this Bassline is actually outside of where the kicks are, so it didn't really cut too much anyway. And for some automation, I put an auto filter on here and just kind of automated the frequency a little bit as the breakdown happened. Next up, I've got this vocal chop. And what I did to this was, if I come into the sample here, yeah, I pitched it up 2 semitones just so it fit better with the track. And again, did some funny stuff with the auto filter. And I just do this because it keeps things interesting throughout the track instead of just having it just be this kind of loop. It kind of moves in and out. And if we go ahead and solo that.
Right here is go back.
And then for the build up, it kind of does the same thing.
Right here is go back. Go back.
And what I did was just use the preset for the beat repeat vocal fun, and it's like a chance on about 64%. So every now and then, a little bit more than half the time, it's going to add a little bit of beat repeat just to change it up again to keep things interesting and not get too monotonous with the same loop over and over again.
Back, right, go back. Right here is go back. Right here is go back. Go back.
And you also notice when the repeat light comes on, that's when the effect is happening, and sometimes it will come on when there is no audio, so we're actually getting a lot less than 64% of the time, but that's just the nature of the beast, and I actually kind of like it that way. I want it just to happen every now and then to keep things interesting. Next up, to make sure that the build, or the drop rather, was more than the part before it, I just took another one of these modular bits. If I show in browser again, inside of the modular loops, there's this modular clip right here. 04, and I really tweaked it out. I went 22 semitones above where it was before. I put it on the texture mode and dropped the grain size all the way down, and this is what it sounds like. And again, I've got a lot of reverb on there. It's panned a little bit to the left, and the original sounded like this. So you see that I'm only using one little bit, and it's completely transformed the sound. And then I just added this open hat just to get things grooving. And pan that a little bit to the right. And there's a couple of effects. These are straight out of the pack. Pretty standard stuff, and then I've just got some crashes here for the more of an impact for the build up and then the drop. And then that white noise, just so things are kind of pumping, and the drop actually is a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more in your face and has a little bit more energy. And that's of course sidechain to that ghost channel as well. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to share that with you to show you that, you know, using this pack and using what's inside of it, you can really get some great results quite quickly. This didn't take me too long to put together. Let's go ahead and listen one more time. Thanks for taking the time to check out this track I made. And again, if you grab the pack from Loopmasters, links in the video description, you can get this track and go ahead and finish it up and make it your own. Completely royalty free. Anyway, I'm Joshua Casper here for Loopmasters. I hope you learned something. We will see you next time.
Right here is go back. Right, go back. Right here is 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 go back. Right, go back. right, go back.